It's an homage to XCOPY's total body of work.
We ended up getting 19 artists on board to help reimagine XCOPY's entire catalog.
That's the first time I've been called responsible, so I appreciate that.
I'm a singular gobshite. I'm a great gobshite, though.
So basically, you were herding cats.
People are going to see cards with artworks that they've never seen before. And they're like, I want to go see, like, what does the original look like?
And I think that gives artists license to say, you know what, I'm going to do things on my own terms as well.
GM, welcome to another episode of Bonafides. We have an exciting episode with guests Adam, Arthr, and Nuclear Samurai. And also Praveen's on the stage as well. So we are here to talk about an exciting project called Cards. I have been hearing a lot of buzz about it. And Adam, I think if you can tell us what Cards is, it would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Adam. I do marketing at OpenSea. And I actually had this concept for Cards about a year ago. And it all started off with an XCOPY tweet that he actually quote tweeted. He quote tweeted himself, I think yesterday. But the tweet essentially says like the steps to becoming an artist. And then it's step one, like decide you're an artist or like make art. It's something along those lines. And I was like, you know what? That's so true. I have been around artists and supporting artists and minting artists and, you know, given my work and my full-time job for years. And so I was like, you know what? I should try to do something. And so I had this concept where I wanted to figure out a way to reimagine XCOPY's work. And it started with my own collecting journey. You know, I have collected a number of XCOPY pieces. I have a Grifter PFP, but I wanted to do this myself. And so I knew that was going to be a big task. And so I started and I got into this flurry of creating like 2 or 3 cards per day. And they were really bad. They were really bad. If you guys see the cards that I made for this, you'll be like, okay, maybe they're okay. But the cards that I made originally were really bad. And so I let the project die. And I was just like, you know what? I tried. It didn't work out. That's okay. And then, you know, the card meta kind of started coming back and I saw different artists doing cards. I saw different brands doing cards. And I was like, you know what if I resurrected that idea? And so I sent a few DMs to people to help me. And we ended up getting 19 artists on board to help reimagine XCOPY's entire catalog across one-of-ones, collections, and editions into unique sort of trading cards, playing cards. And so it ended up being this really wonderful like group project. It started as, you know, a concept I had and couldn't do. And so all of these people on the screen now who you'll see helped me. And so that became really special. I want to pass it over to, you know, Nuke and Arthr just to talk about also, because I can't remember how each of them entered the project. It was probably with a frenzied DM from me, but would love to hear how you guys, you know, got interested at least, because this is a tall order for anyone. So tell us about your guys' experience.
Well, actually, I remember when you first got the idea because you talked to me about it before anyone else. And I actually liked the art originally. I know no one else did, but yeah, I liked it. It was there was something really unique about it. And you know, I was looking at it and I was like, I couldn't do that style of art if I wanted to. And it was impressive what you were pulling off there. So no, dude, when you came around and you were like, hey, I'm actually doing it now. I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to do it. Because it was a great idea.
I remember that because it was around, I don't know if you guys remember last year, like the avant art, avant gay, like a lot of that style was sort of like bubbling under the surface of sort of on-chain art. And there were a lot of interesting conversations happening there. There were a lot of these like very cool, very like radical collage things. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I reimagined XCOPY's work, which is so defined and unique in his own style that he invented through this sort of new style. And I tried doing it and I sent Nuke a couple and he was like, yeah, these are shit. But what's up? Oh, I thought I heard someone say something. It was this like avant art XCOPY type thing where I wanted to have a style that I could make my own. And Nuke had also just done the X figures. That's really, I'm putting the history together now. Nuke had just done X figures as well, which was a wonderful homage to a lot of XCOPY's work. And so I was like, hey, Nuke, do you want to do this with me? And I think I badgered him a few times, but then finally, once we had this clearer idea that we wanted to do, it seemed, like a great thing to work on together.
Nice. For I think the audience, so some in the audience may not know exactly what cards is. So it's an homage to XCOPY's total body of work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I ended up rambling. Yeah, so the project is an homage to XCOPY's entire catalog of artworks on xcopy.art. Each one of the artworks that is there is represented in this collection. But the fun thing about it is all of XCOPY's work is under the Creative Commons license, CC0, and there have been a lot of artists who have remixed it. Yeah, so even if you go to the Creative Commons tab there at the top, all of the artists who have worked on this are represented here in some way, shape or form. And this is something that XCOPY actually really leans into. I mean, if you look at it, he has a section of his site which is just for people who have remixed his work. And so there were kind of a couple elements that came together, which was like the card element, which we thought was interesting, but also this element of if we were to get together a group of artists, we could reimagine his work through their points of view to create entirely new artworks. And that became very exciting to me. Because each of the artists that we've brought on board, they have a different perspective. They have a different style. They have a different art practice that, they have developed in some cases over months, in some cases over years. And so getting them to use their voice and reimagine work was an interesting constraint. But all of the artists love XCOPY. They love, collecting his work. They love owning his work. They have already remixed their work in some ways. So it ended up really being really exciting.
Yeah, this is a crazy project actually, because there's around 250 works as I understand it.
Yeah, it's debatable about how many works there are. There are some lost XCOPYs. There are things that have been burned. There are things that were put on chain but maybe are not published. There's debate amongst the scholars, I will say, but the constraint there was that we were going to use XCOPY .art as sort of the definitive list for what we wanted to tackle.
So basically you were herding cats, getting all the 19 artists making
Well,
sure
I'll let Arthur speak to that. From memory, he appears to be one of the more responsible ones. We ended up using the metadata sheet that Nuclear Samurai built for X figures, which cataloged all of XCOPY's works and the edition numbers. And then artists were able to kind of sign up for the cards that they really wanted to do. Some of them had artworks that they owned. Some of them have artworks that really speak to them. Some of them have artworks that maybe they've already remixed but wanted to remix further. So it was like herding cats, but I want to make sure Arthur has a chance to speak from the artist perspective, because I was more so the conductor of it all. I did contribute some pieces as well, but I was the conductor. Arthur and Nuke were the artists. So yeah, I'm curious what it was like from their perspective to have me in their DMs being like, finish your stuff.
That's the first time I've been called responsible, so I appreciate that. First time in my life. I'll tell when my wife gets home, I'll be like, I got called responsible on a live stream today. She'll love that and disagree. But yeah, it's been a great project. Adam's done a great job in conducting the whole thing. I don't have anywhere near the level of sort of organizational skills that you do. So props to Adam and props to all the other artists as well, because everyone's been super cool and respectful of the process and stuff. So it's been great. But yeah, so there was a whole list of X's works, and we had a chance to sort of put our names to the work that we wanted to do. Unfortunately, I was quite late to the process, so had to pick up not the dregs, that's the wrong word.
Arthur, you're going to pick up the bad XCOPY work.
Yeah. There's no bad XCOPY. Come on, there's no dregs.
Yeah,
was there particular ones that people were fighting about, to get? What was the one that people really wanted to do?
I think the Doomed were quite sought after.
Yeah, Doomed makes sense. There was also there were a couple instances in which people didn't follow instructions, which happens, you know, I'm not going to name names, but someone had officially signed up for a card, and then another artist had just like started working on the card and sharing the art. And so there were times where it might have been a little tense in the group chat, being like, well, I signed up for that one. And the other person's like, oh, well, I already made it. And so we were able to figure it all out. Everyone was very wonderful about it. But I think All Time High in the Summer was another one where there might have been some miscommunication over like who exactly was doing the card. But ultimately, you know, we ended up with a really wonderful card, and everyone's still friends. I'm happy to say that.
It's been
But
nice, it's been nice
Arthur,
working with like XCOPY's works, like looping GIF sort of, like that's the main sort of format, right? Which has lent itself really well to like adding to a card. It really like looks nice in that card format, which I didn't realize before we started the process, but they really convert well into like a collectible card. But for me also, like I've always like we're all from like the generation of like collectible cards, right? Like the popular ones like Pokemon, Magic the Gathering. So like to have the opportunity to sort of like focus on like a dedicated collection that sort of plays on that sort of love for collecting cards as a youth, you know? Because I've always like I've doodled like cards in the past of my own, but it's never really amounted to stuff because you're sort of like, oh, I'll come back to that. But because we're sort of focused on this project, it's forced me to be like, right, I'm making these cards. I'm going to like really focus on details and stuff that I've always wanted to do as a kid. But this has sort of enabled us to do that really, which has been cool.
yeah. Nuke, I'm curious how like your experience was on the artist side, given that you had spent so much time researching and creating X figures ahead of this project. When you went to go sign up for the cards, you know, what was your thought process?
It was like it was so easy for me because they were already in my mind, you know what I mean? Like the only ones that weren't, and I told you this later, was that the ones that came out after X figures. I was like, I didn't pick any of those because wasn't that familiar with them. And like you guys know, I just launched a big project, so I didn't have a lot of like mental capacity to deal with thinking too much about stuff. And so I was like, I want to work with the ones I'm familiar with. And so when I went to pick them out, I was very considerate to make sure that I wasn't picking ones that everyone would want. And so I was picking ones I was more familiar with that were like, you know, like right click, save as go and stuff like that. And things that I had this special connection to from creating the project that I did. And, you know, I found that revisiting this work now, like a year later, was so good for me to be able to come at it with new eyes and a fresh perspective and stuff like that. So yeah, picking was pretty easy, and also I was really early, so I was the opposite to Arthur. I had to not just choose the bangers and stuff, and I had to really kind of like, you know, go hold myself back and go, oh, I'd love to do that, but someone else would too. So yeah, I picked a good mix of like, you know, well-known and less well-known pieces.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, and I think in that way, maybe Arthur got a little bit more value out of this project than you did, because there's a level of familiarity that most XCOPY collectors have, which is like everyone knows Mortal, everyone knows Doomed, everyone knows Grifters, everyone knows Max Payne, and then you ask them to name like specific one of ones after that, and it starts to the chart starts to go down. Like how many XCOPY pieces are you actually familiar with? And so the artists, you know, they got to go into his catalog and familiarize themselves with pieces that have maybe never even sold, like past, you know, the mint or past the one of one acquisition. And so, you know, there were several pieces that I signed up for, specifically taking the perspective of, I want to see new XCOPY work that I've never seen before. So for example, there's a piece called Tap Your Card When You're Ready, Sir. Can any of you tell me, maybe Nuke can, but like, can any of you tell me what that looks like? Like, probably not. Or One Squeeze is Enough for a Sink Full of Dishes. That's the name
I
of
love
the
that one. I
no,
love
it's
that
an
one.
amazing artwork.
It's like a noise pattern, and it's like
Yeah.
kind of, it's beautiful, man. Like, yeah. So for me, it was like I already did my homework for this, you know. So it was like you know, having to repeat the third grade or something. You're like, I can nail this, you know. Because like,
here it is.
It's been a great exercise to delve into his back catalogue, right? Like there's pieces there that I've never seen in my life, or like and like on different platforms as well, like the Known Origins sort of like collection. Like there's so many other bits there that I didn't know from like, aside from like the well-known ones. But yeah, it's been a great exercise to sort of like, see what he's actually done. Really, there's like a massive catalog there, isn't there?
Yeah,
I think that I would recommend, even if you're not doing a project, to go in and research what he's done. Because as an artist, when I did originally research him last year for like 6 months, like going in and seeing the path of his journey and stuff like that, there's so many things that, you know, if you listen to collectors and they say don't do this and don't do that and all these different like bullshit rules they'll come up with, like XCOPY breaks all of those rules, you know what I mean, like in some ways. And it is really kind of liberating to see that someone managed to like do things on their own terms and find success. And I think that gives artists license to say, you know what, I'm going to do things on my own terms as well.
Yeah, I love that. And so it's this thing where the artists who already love XCOPY, they got to just go deeper and discover these new sides of his catalog, his body of work. But then we also get to bring that now to the broader sort of crypto Web3 collectible space. Is like people are going to see cards with artworks that they've never seen before. And they're like, I want to go see, like, what does the original look like? You know, how true or how not true to this original is it? And then they get to, you know, get the exposure to that original artwork. So it's this really nice funnel that hopefully funnels people here to xcopy.art, which is where we based all the artworks on, and get people just more familiar with the body of work.
The other thing that I've like might be slightly off topic, but like going into the provenance of each piece as well and seeing the lineage of like who's owned these works. There's so many like people that I'm like friends that I know that I've gone through and I'm like, fuck, they've owned like the last selfie from like Mint and they sold it. Like just looking at the work has been interesting, but looking at the sort of provenance of the work as well has been super interesting. I don't know about you guys, but that's been more interesting, or like almost as interesting as the works.
Whenever I look, it's usually Jedi Wolf or Benji who own it. So I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was looking at the last selfie and like friends like Shortcut and Mattia, like they owned the last selfie from like Mint and stuff. And I'm like, I messaged them straight away, like, fucking hell, I didn't realize that you were like that early. I'm jealous.
Yeah. It is cool to hear people's stories as well, because there was an experience where there's a collector that I know who actually minted one of the Doomed editions, and he was like, yeah, he was like, I saw it for a couple bucks, I like thought it was kind of cool, and I minted it, and then it's just been in a wallet ever since. And so different people have had different experiences with XCOPY sort of at different times, aside from like, you know, the commercial value. But it's been cool. I agree to like see who owns this stuff, to research who owns this stuff, to see who is super early. Because everyone has to remember, like, some of this stuff, I think it took Praveen, well, I don't know if Praveen can talk, but I think it took like over a year maybe to mint out Doomed, 100 editions of Doom.
It was like 420 days or 450 days. Yeah. It almost went into a third year. So it was like 20. Yeah, it ended on like December, but it almost went into the next year.
And it was only a couple of bucks at the time too. And so you had these like really interesting folks who were like early crypto tinkerers, and they were blockchain explorers, and they found this either through Tumblr or through other, you know, avenues. And they were like, yeah, this is cool. And so just to see what it's turned into has been really cool.
Another cool thing is, like, if you're ever really interested in like geeking out on XCOPY, is to go back through the Tumblr posts and stuff, and you can actually see that there's one that he did where he did a sale on Last Selfie and sold it half price for $10. Like, you know, seeing stuff like that is so really interesting to see, you know, in the context of, you know, how people see XCOPY now, to see, you know, that history of him as well. I think that's something that for a lot of artists would be good to see, because I think that people can get so caught up in the like narrative or mythos of, you know, an artist like with survivor bias and say, oh, well, you know, they've made it and they're big and stuff like that. But to see that history laid out and go, wow, he, you know, he really did, you know, fight through the trenches, and he was really early to everything and stuff. So it's very cool to see that history is still there on Tumblr as well. And you'll find some artworks that you might not be familiar with too.
I'm trying to pull up some
absolutely.
of the pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the audience might want to see also some of the cards, maybe with that Arthr created, Nuke created, and others created. It'd be really cool. So Arthur and Nuke, do you want to give us a guide to some of the ones that you've created?
Yeah, sure. Hold on. Let me just go look at what I did.
Arthur, I think he's going to pull them up on the screen on the live stream just from your Twitter. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't share any on Twitter yet.
Oh.
I'll go share some now.
Wait, then what's this one, Arthur?
No, that was Nuke talking.
That was me. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's start with Arthur then.
Did he? Oh yeah, he's there.
Do you want me to talk you through them?
Yeah, maybe just the two on the screen first, and then we can probably look at some other ones.
Yeah, and so basically my approach to the cards was I created a very too extensive template in Photoshop where basically the cards broke down into like loads of layers. I used like After Effects to animate the borders and all sorts of random stuff. But yeah, this one is F is for fucked up, fuck up or fucked up. Fuck up. But yeah, so this one's like it's pretty much the original piece, but there's like a holographic sheen over it. I don't know if you can see that on the live screen. And then I've done like a doodle around the border of the title of the piece, which is like a hollow sort of feel to it. You'll realize when you see all my cards that I'm obsessed with holographic stuff, even though it doesn't really appear in my original work so much. I love that that hollow vibe. So I love that 80K piece that he's just released, that physical. It's beautiful. So yeah, most of them are holographic. This one's got like, yeah, some sort of like abstract hollow stuff in the border as well. I don't know if you can see that. But I wanted mine to be very consistent in the format. So they've all got like their little label down on the bottom right, which has the title of the piece, the edition size, the date it was minted. So all of them have got that in various forms. And they've all got the same sort of like visual language that runs across them all, I'd say. Yeah, and then
I've never heard someone say this piece. The next one, Praveen, is it simulacrum? Simulacrulum? I don't know how to say it out loud. Does anyone know?
No, it's simulacrum.
Simulacrum.
Yeah, I'm glad you established that because I was waiting to pronounce it and pronounce it. Yeah, so this one I enjoyed. This one took me a while to get right. I wanted like a lot of, because this one's quite holographic, like by nature, right, already. So I wanted to play on that a bit more. So I cut out the eyes and the phone and rendered out like a noise loop in After Effects to run in the background, which gives you that nice sort of floating transparency hollow thing. Yeah, there's not much more to say about this one really. It's just a nice holographic presentation of the original, really.
Yeah, I love the holographic effect. It looks like as if you have a card that has like holographic elements, and you're like moving the card slightly. Right.
Yeah, man, nice. Yeah, it's really hard to get that holographic feel digital. Like it's really hard to like make it, if that makes sense. I remember when Beeple released his original, the Infinite Objects Everydays back in 2020. And he had this really nice holographic, like digital logo thing spinning at the bottom, which I've always tried to like. It's always been the benchmark for me for hollow in digital form. So yeah, trying to make hollow is hard for me anyway.
Nice. And are there other ones that we can take a look at? Or are those the two that we can see on the screen?
On Twitter, there's a few more on my homepage. I think the next post down, there's a couple more. All my ridiculous memes. If you go on my main feed, yeah, there's one. Yeah, nice. So this is quite different from the original, like in terms of the backdrop. So I cut out the main character. Is this Disorder? Yeah. So yeah, I tried to cram in a lot of like reflective, gold, shiny, hollow stuff on this one.
Nice. And then you have a little section like a player stats kind of thing at the bottom, right, as well?
On the right.
bottom right.
Yeah, so that lists the title of the work, the edition size, and the date it was originally minted by X. So all of my works have that little sticker on, almost like an authentication tab. There's like a hollow pattern running through it as well. So yeah, they've all got those on, just to sort of like commemorate the original work, really, and so people know what the original was. So they've got a reference point to go back to.
Nice. I love it.
I think there's two my main feed, maybe. I think Blood Run and maybe The Doomed. Oh yeah, I got the last selfie, which is cool.
Yeah, the texture on the back that moves is so nice.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
this one's from Icon, right? Is this?
What, the pattern in the background?
Yeah, where's that from?
So that was on. So that's I think it's the logo on the Doomed in the bottom right corner, which I took and made a pattern of in Illustrator. I think in the Doomed there's like the little logo on the bottom right. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I think it's in another one.
On the green Doom, I think I took that, basically made a vector of it and made a pattern, and then run like a noise across it, so it does that like oscillation. But in the border of this one as well, I don't know if you can see it on stream, but there's loads of text saying "smile," all like glitching out. But I don't know, in the gold border. But I don't know if you can see it on stream. Yeah, that's one of the most fun cards I've made, I think.
All right, so the original green one doesn't have, the one of 100 doesn't have that logo, but I should have remembered that the like the black and red, I think the black and red and the black and green have it. So
yeah, I think that's it for the black and green. Nice. That one, yeah, there we go.
I just posted up some of mine as well, so if you want to see them, they're on X now.
Oh, nice. I want to see them. Yeah, while we're pulling those up, I think one of the interesting sort of constraints that I had while concepting the project, like so much work goes into like even just wrapping your arms around the idea. And so I really thought, like, should I give artists a template? Like, for example, on Google, you can find like blank Pokemon card or blank Yu-Gi-Oh card or whatever. And so I played around with, a lot of my own designs within these other templates first, just to see like what is visually compelling. And then I thought, you know what, if this whole project is about reinterpreting the original art through the artist's lens, I actually want to give them the least amount of constraints possible so that they can use their own creativity to come up with things that I would never come up with. So I think the only two constraints might have been like the ratio. So like obviously it needed to be vertical and it needed to like look like a card. And that the name of the original artwork had to be somewhere on the card, because we wanted people, of course, to go back to the originals as well and actually like look at them. So, as we look at Arthur's cards, as we look at Nuke's cards, we can look at a couple of my cards. I shared them. You'll see that those were really the only two constraints. And then people did static, people did GIFs. People really sort of took the liberty, which I wanted them to, and made something really cool.
Just a quick note, there's Gobshite and Gobshites. My one was based on Gobshite, not Gobshites.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did this card. With the plural Gobshites.
Yeah, I did the singular Gobshite, yeah.
Would you consider yourself a plural or a singular?
I'm a singular Gobshite. I'm a great Gobshite though. So looking at like these ones, you could seriously be a model in Gobshite, right? I think that those two really have this emblematic quality of XCOPY's sense of humor. His work, it's I describe it as digital expressionism because to me, it is something that has that quality of expressionism, but it's through this like digital kind of way. And like in that he gives you so much room to interpret the work, and mostly what you have to work with is the the strokes and the expressiveness of the strokes, and then the the animation and the title. And with these titles, like, you could seriously be a model. It says enough that you get a narrative from it and stuff. And Gobshite as well is one where, like, well, you could seriously be a model is like, the idea of him taking a photo of the dress. It's such a sleazy kind of saying, you could seriously be a model. And so that's where I went with it, where it's like, it's like that's the creepiest thing you could have someone doing, and like really kind of nailing into that like real creepiness. It was just funny to me, like, for me, my goal was to just have fun with the art as much as possible. And so yeah, this had me laughing. So I was like, someone will appreciate this.
And that was 2019 work as well, which is like, I felt that was when there was like a uptick of everyone suddenly like, hey, I'm a model. Yeah, you're an Instagram model.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like that was the meta then.
And like that's the kind of comment you see on social media as well under people's posts, like thirst comments under thirst traps and stuff like that. So yeah, I just felt like that would be the direction to go with on it. And then and Gobshite is like, I went with the idea of yeah, sorry, I was leaving comments. Yeah, I went with the idea on on that of basically being like, for Gobshite is like, that person who just like talks your ear off at the bar, and like never stop talking, and just having him bounce around all over the bar and stuff like that with the beer was just funny to me. So like the titles do a lot of heavy lifting, like to inform what you're seeing in X's art, and then yeah, just taking that and characterizing it in this way to me was kind of fun.
That's so good, that one. I love the way they were just exhausted.
Arthur, I'm curious, is Gobshite like a popular like British saying? Like, would you hear someone be like, "Oh, he's such a Gobshite"? That's more of
a Scottish term, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, I've not. I feel like it's from a particular. It's not really popular now, but I remember an era where it was a thing. Yeah, you fucking Gobshite. Okay. It's not said in a Cockney accent like that, but
yeah, right.
Like, I'm trying to think of. Yeah, I haven't heard. No, I'd say it's an era-specific term. I haven't heard it. It might be popular in certain areas, maybe, but down here in Cornwall, it's not a thing really.
Got it. Cool. Oh, this is great. Praveen, can we zoom at all just so we can get some of the details? I don't know if it's possible on the stream, but oh, there we go.
Nice.
Yeah. So with this one, the idea was like, I went with this idea of it being like like this merging of like times, because I think Doomed is one of those ones that's gonna continue to have such a strong relevance like long into the future. And so I was imagining this kind of like blend of worlds where it's like a futuristic kind of place, but this one person is just like stuck with the Doomed forever, and it's just printing out constantly. And like for me, it was this idea about talking about like the longevity of the Doomed as I see it. And because like I think it's a really important work, and I think that what happens around it, like in terms of like even the Doom DAO and everything like that, I think it's one of those ones that's kind of going to have a long life to it. And so yeah, I wanted to see that in the card.
Is this a one of one? Is the black and white variant a one of one? Does anyone know off the top?
No, I think it's 1 of 100 as well. I think
yeah, the one of one is owned by Emlo, I do believe.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was thinking like, maybe there's. Oh, sorry, Han. I just had one more thing. I was thinking there's an interesting thing here too, beyond just like the conceptual like end of days, but still like the Doom survives, is also like the printing of like the editions. Is like how does that sort of nod to like the original edition size as well? So within these cards, like there are a lot of intentional references that the artists have kind of put in there, similarly to XCOPY's work. In like the grifter that I own, for example, if you zoom into the eyes really, really like small, it says like FU in the eyes in pixels. Or for example, like in Taxmen, I I forget if it's tax man or tax men. I think it's tax men. I don't know if the Twitter resolution will show it. But yeah, there's the little whites in the eyes. It'll say it's an F in the left eye and a U in the right eye. There's these really nice little like details. Or in Taxmen, if you slow down the animation in the eyes, it'll say U, like U, and then it spells OWE, UO. And so to go into XCOPY's work and to investigate it and to really look at like the things that he's placed there, these artists have done something similar, and it becomes like a really special kinship with XCOPY and with his work.
Oh wow!
Praveen, you want to go to my cards? they're not nearly as good. You might have to scroll just a little bit because I've been sort of pumping the other artists. Yeah, if you keep going, there's one tweet where I say like, you know, something about yeah, maybe down. There's the one that Arsonic did, which was great. There's the one that Lewis did, which was a piece called Hayden Adams. I've never seen that piece before, but Lewis just did a collab piece with XCOPY about a month ago. So it was really exciting to have him as well. There's Bats's piece. If you scroll up just a little bit more, yeah. So Bats did a piece called Orb, and he linked the original underneath it.
Praveen, can you zoom into those? Like click into them?
It's not letting me.
You have to click on the tweet, like the outside of the tweet, not on the GIF itself. Oh, it's not. You're already in the tweet.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, already.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, there's Bats did one of the honorary pieces, which is great. Really exciting to have, you know, him as part of it. Oh yeah, there we go. That's a perfect view. So there's his reinterpretation of Orb, which is just that single eye kind of watching over you, sleep tight, which I haven't heard this from him directly, but you know, something that I've noticed in XCOPY's work is this concept around like surveillance and being watched. You know, there's things like drones, there's constantly things like eyes. I think it's particularly relevant in the UK, where they are having a lot of interesting legislation around like who can do what and how it's being tracked. And so this became like a really, you know, important piece. And then Praveen, if you don't mind scrolling down to the original piece, just so we can kind of see them in contrast. Yeah, there's this huge eyeball that sort of glitches out as if it's watching you through a screen almost. And so this concept of surveillance, and then the entity wishing you good night, like it comes together in a really wonderful conceptual way. But yeah, if you go back. Oh, go ahead.
Doom Mono is a 1-of-1, so that my one was a 1-of-1, yeah.
Oh well.
And it's like owned by Emlo, right?
Knowledge is not too shabby.
Is it owned by Emlo?
Let's
I
see
think
who
Emlo
owns this
sold
one.
it. I feel like he was trying to sell it a few years ago.
Yeah.
Let's go look at the provenance. Hold on a second. It's owned by, let's see.
Martin.
Okay. The same person who they own some good ones. Let's see.
It's probably Benji.
No, this isn't. No, it's not the Pellet collection. Maybe it's one of his alts.
Praveen, while he's looking for it, do you mind going back to my feed and maybe pulling up some of the artworks?
Yeah, where's yours? Where's the work you've done?
Keep going. They'll be under there. You'll see them. It's Cope Salata. There it is. Yeah, it's the Cope Salata girl. Okay, so this is like a very interesting and sort of special card to me for, I want to say, 3 reasons. The first of which is there's a wonderful XCOPY collector and Doom DAO member by the name of MP9X. If you've met him, you've probably heard him talk about Doom Party. That's all he really talks about, but we love him for that. He's Italian. And so whenever he talks about Cope Salata, which of course is XCOPY's collection on Shape, he says, Copa Salada. I love Copa Salada. And so it's just stuck with me like so deeply, like in my soul. So that's why the name of the artwork, I changed it slightly as like a reference to that. Copa Salada. I just think it's so funny to hear like a real Italian person say it. And so obviously, you know, this is the Cope Salada that I own, which Nuke actually put into the X Figures collection, which was very nice. But I was kind of inspired by sort of like more meme cards. I you know, a lot of these artists like created like really like serious art for these reinterpretations. I went a little bit more sort of like lighthearted with it. And I was you know, there's all those different like rare Pepes. There's also all these different sort of card collections. And so I really wanted to, with my approach, think about different ways that I could, you know, recontextualize XCOPY's work. And so, you know, in the Copsolata that I own, which is this, you'll see the face pattern in the background. There's that bright green and pink. And so I immediately thought, what if I did like a Pepe somehow? And so I ended up with this like Pepe girl in the bikini. And it ended up being like a really fun card, at least for me. XCOPY did not retweet it in his string of retweets, so maybe he hates it, but I thought it was really fun. And then that kind of brings me to the next card over, which is Dead Cat Bounce, which which is another sort of Pepe inspired card. But the original piece, Dead Cat Bounce, is this sort of red noise waveform, and you'll see it in the background. But I wanted to, you know, put a Pepe cat in there just as more of like a literal interpretation, and then have these sort of Gothic ornate ornaments on there to bring home just like the dead cat, the red. It's like almost like you could consider it blood maybe, or like some sort of signal noise. And so I took a more like lighthearted, fun approach with a lot of my cards. The other thing, which you'll see when the collection is revealed, I also played with some of those early iterations of templates. And so some of them will look similar to like what a Yu-Gi-Oh card might look like, or Catan, which is a game that I love immensely, Settlers of Catan. Oh yeah, here's Dead Cat Bounce. I was sort of like, how do you make a card out of this? And I was like, you know what, throw a Pepe on there. Like, it's perfect, and make him a cat. Easy. But for a lot of mine too, they have different visual sort of approaches and distinct ways of reinterpreting, because I wanted to sort of stretch myself across all of the things I was interested in. So some of them look like Catan cards, some of them look like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, some of them look like Pokemon cards, some of them almost don't look like cards at all. And that became really fun to just push myself. Yeah, I only shared those two, I think. Maybe if you scroll down just a tad more, maybe I shared other ones. I can't remember, honestly. Maybe down just a little bit more, because we were teasing them before. Nope. Okay, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, okay, so those were the only two that I've shared so far. But, you know, it became a labor of love. I would think that maybe Arthr and Nuke would say the same thing, like a labor of love to really think about how to actually bring this work to life.
So one thing I had a question about, so XCOPY's collection Copsolata, so that's a collection of many pieces. So how does that map to, is it one card, is it multiple cards for that Copa Salata card?
So that's a great question, just in terms of like the mechanics and the supply and all of that. So the way that we did it was that each artwork on xcopy.art gets its own unique card. So for Copsolata, I want to say there's around 250 of those. But I'll give you another example too that I'm more sure of, like grifters, for example. There's 666 grifters that are all unique, algorithmically created, generated, unique. Obviously, we can't create 666 unique cards for each grifter. So what we did is we created one grifter card. However, there will be 666 editions of that card in an 1155 format. So if the piece is a 1 of 1, there will only be 1 edition. If it's a 1 of 10, there will only be 10 editions. However, for something like Max Payne, for example, where there's like 4,000 editions, that card will appear, obviously more often. But we mapped it pretty much exactly to how the current supply of each of the XCOPY pieces works, and we ended up with a pretty big collection. I want to say it's like 15,000 editions across, all of the 1 of 1s, the collections, and the editions that he's made, and those will be all in packs of 5.
Except for the 2 million bubbles, right?
Oh yeah, that's true actually. So bubbles was an interesting one, because the supply is constantly changing because of how like the mechanic works. That's another one on Shape. And so like we had to make a decision here around like, okay, well, if there's 2 million editions, like how do we even go about selling this collection or putting it into the hands of people who will love it? Because that just doesn't really make sense. And so we made the decision that because eventually all but one bubble will pop, and whatever bubble is left will be sort of like a final artwork, we made bubbles into a 1-of-1.
Nice. So packs. So people can buy packs. Is that how it works?
Yes. So if you scroll down just a little bit on this page, Praveen, yep, a little bit more. There you go. So people will start by minting packs. So these are 721s that people will mint starting tomorrow at noon Eastern. And they will like, you know, have their packs. Maybe they'll buy more, maybe they'll sell them, whatever they choose to do. And then we partnered with the Manifold team to create a pack ripping experience. And so on Monday of next week, so there's going to be several days where people are just holding packs, maybe buying more, maybe not, whatever. And then on Monday, the pack ripping site will be open. It will burn the 721, which is the pack, and it will issue the 1155 editions that are within each of the packs. And we've got the Manifold team here.
Hey, Don, Linda, glad to have you guys join as well. But yeah, it was a critical part of like working on this project with Adam and the artist was, you know, there need to be a good pack ripping mechanic, and there's been a lot of platforms that have done some really nice pack ripping, like even on the Avant Gay art scene. And then we saw what you guys had done with Exulo and with Chimpers, and I was like, you know, I wanted to make sure we had a project to work with you guys that really was, you know, just a solid set of art and artists, and was really glad that you guys were ready to, you know, get the pack ripping for us.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's been amazing working with everyone here, and just old friends and new friends, artists who we've worked with for a while, and just seeing some new ones on the chat. So it's been amazing. We're really excited for this, and it's such an incredible body of work. And Adam, thanks for being the mad genius behind this. So yeah, it's been lovely.
Yeah, I got to actually see the pack record. Like, you guys let me test it out and stuff. Like, all the artists got to test it a little bit earlier, and it's a good experience. Like, I think it's really cool. Like, yeah. And I think that's really important for how it's supposed to work, is that's a good experience, and I think you guys nailed it. So great job.
Yeah, amazing. Kudos to our designer Mel. But yeah, we're really excited. We're excited to see the reactions, and I think it's going to be very fun. And as always, let us know if you guys have any questions. DM me, the Manifold page, whatever.
No, I love it.
Let me know which ones to rip, Linda.
Tell us what's in the packs.
So you buy the packs on OpenSea, and a couple of days later, you can rip the pack open on Manifold.
Yeah, it's a really nice experience the way that we have built this. So one of like the benefits of hosting the drop on OpenSea, you know, I have to say that like even though I work there, like they're not affiliated, they're not promoting this, they're not putting this on, you know, on any sort of marketing surfaces. This is really like a labor of love from me as like a conductor and as an artist myself. OpenSea has this really like handy feature where you can mint things in any like major chain currency, and it will sort of swap on the back end for you. So you can mint these packs, you know, they're on Shape, of course, but you can mint these packs in like mainnet ETH. You could mint these packs in USDC, anything else like that. And so that's one of the benefits of not having to then bridge over, and that can sometimes be a hurdle for people who are maybe a little less technical. But you can also then buy on secondary using these main currencies as well. And so that will make it really easy for anyone who's looking to participate either in the primary or in the secondary. And then the Manifold team has done a really great job of making sure that the rip is going to be gasless. And so when anyone goes to rip, even if they don't have that, let's say Shape ETH, which it would only cost like a cent or a fraction of a cent because it's a grade L2, but they don't even need to have that. They can just rip it and then go back to OpenSea and continue in collecting or selling or whatever they choose to do. So it's a really seamless experience that has been created here, because we want the work to end up in people's hands who will really appreciate it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it really does feel like, the physical analog of ripping a pack and then seeing all the cards inside, and that's the NFT version of it that has been created.
Yeah, it's been awesome to work with this group on this. I feel really lucky because I couldn't have done it alone. I started the stream by saying I tried, and it just became very evident very quickly. I didn't have the artistic chops, nor did I have like the manpower, brain power. What will you? And so this group of people working together in concert has been like a huge blessing and opportunity.
And the thing that I've noted looking at the cards from the three of you is how different they are. And so like there's 19 artists, which means that it's going to be pretty crazy to see all the different styles and then exploring each of the items. Each of the original works and looking at the cards, I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah. As Arthur sort of shared earlier, like he went with more of like a templated approach for the artworks that he did. So not that they're going to look the same. I don't mean to say that, but there's like a familiar style with some of his. Nukes have his like very like unique, creative, artistic touch on them, which is awesome. And then you have someone here like Number One Crush, who just totally like threw all of the sort of rules to the side while respecting the two, which was the dimensions and the artwork name. And he just went like literally balls to the wall and made like the most bonkers, amazing artwork that like you could want to own. You know what I mean? Can you press play on that GIF? Oh yeah, there you go. So you kind of get to see little flashes of like,
the pink skull one is my favorite of his. I love that.
Which one?
It's like a pink skull.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, the ice cream one.
Yeah.
Yeah, impossible for me to pause it perfectly, but
they're all good to be fair. But yeah, that always pops out for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the one he did too with his own artwork. So he has this collection of like dogs and frogs that are all sort of iced out with like jewelry and things.
With the grills,
Yeah, so he used that. Cool. And then he put like, I think it's pixel chain in the eyes, which I was just like, oh, this is so good. So I'm like personally like really, there's the pixel.
I love what he did with Greedy Guts, as well.
That's my favorite. That's probably my favorite one of his.
This is the one that I think within all of the artists are really good, maybe like except mine. This is my favorite, I think, within his sort of body, just because he took his own artwork and he made it translate seamlessly with XCOPY's artwork and found a way to tell that story in a way which I think enhances both. It doesn't take away from his, it doesn't take away from XCOPY. It enhances both of the bodies of work, and that's the ultimate goal. That's the dream.
Oh, this is really good. This one, all of them are great, but this one's really good too. And the dates. So tomorrow is when it starts minting the packs.
Yes. So tomorrow at noon Eastern is when our like allow lists will open. So each of the artists work together to kind of create an allow list based on people who hold their work, people who, friends and family, whatever the artist chose, they were given a certain allotment that they could bring into the allow list. And then we'll have like a first come, first serve stage, which is like other folks that have expressed interest. And then finally we'll have a public stage. So each of the stages I want to say is 2 hours.
Great. And this is the URL this is the page for minting, right?
Yep, this is for minting the packs. And then once those are all minted out, we will circulate the URL for actually ripping them, which will be on Manifold.
Great, amazing. So for the last couple of minutes, Adam, how do you feel having kind of shepherded possibly the most comprehensive and the most cohesive homage to the total body of XCOPY's works?
That's a big question. I would say that like I feel proud in a number of ways. So one, getting all of the materials ready beforehand was a huge undertaking. I wrote out a document that was like 3 or 4 pages long, like explaining the idea, explaining what I wanted to do, explaining the mechanics, explaining everything that all the artists sort of had to read before they started. Thankfully, Nuke saved me a bunch of time by already having a lot of the metadata cataloged, like all of it, I should say. That would have taken probably like 2 or 3 weeks to just catalog the metadata, which is the name of the artwork, where it was minted, what year it was minted, the number of editions. Like he went through for his project and did all that painstakingly by hand. So that saved me a ton of work. But overall, I would say like beyond my own personal contributions, like getting this group together of like A plus artists to all contribute and work together, and then to do marketing, it makes me feel really like full, I would say, in my heart, as you know, cheesy and geeky as that sounds. Like I just feel proud that this group came together and was able to create this body of work. And hopefully, you know, the early signals are that XCOPY likes it. He's been retweeting ones. Yeah. There we go. So he retweeted Gary and the ones that he made. Praveen, if you scroll down, you know, there's a couple other artists. Yeah. Number One Crush. If you scroll down a little bit more, I think he did a couple other ones yesterday. Yeah. So he's been engaging, which makes me think that like he's supportive and like honored by the work, as opposed to like thinking that this is a like, I don't know, a way to like profit off of, you know, his body of work. Like that's not necessarily what we're trying to do. We want the artists, of course, to be compensated for their time on this, but it's really like a love letter back to him and the work that he's done, which has allowed us to make this project. So one of the things that the artists all agreed on was that all of the secondary royalties for the cards collection and the cards themselves would go back to XCOPY, because we really, truly are so grateful that he's made this impact on the world that we then get to build on top of.
Wow.
Amazing.
This project is incredible. And I can't wait to get some of these packs and mint them and then rip them and see what I get. And you know, I'm certainly not an artist, but from an artist perspective, if a bunch of other artists basically painstakingly, laboriously, a labor of love, look at every single piece of art from the total body of work and make these like amazing homages. I mean, I don't think there couldn't be a more thoughtful thing that could have been made. And so this is an incredible project. I wanted to thank you, Adam. I wanted to thank you, Arthr and Nuke, and the OpenSea team, Manifold team, and of course XCOPY for having made the project possible as well with his total body of work. Can't wait. Thanks for being on the show, and excited to see it all happen tomorrow.
Amazing. Thanks, Han. Thanks, Praveen. Thank you to all the artists, to Manifold. You guys are the best. We're really excited for tomorrow, so thanks.
Okay, amazing.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Talk to you later.